Something is shifting in the air. Can you feel it? I could. I hope everybody could as well. So let's explore the astro-weather. Welcome to the astro-weather with Laura Francesca, Star Zenith 33, where we tune in to the climate shaping our days, our decisions, and our destiny. Just as the sky brings shifting seasons on Earth, the heavens also carry their own rhythm. The planetary movements, the lunar phases, and celestial alignments. It influences the energy around us and within us. In this space, we explore the astrology of the moment, what's unfolding in the sky, what it means for the collective experience, and how you can move through it with awareness, wisdom, and intention. So wherever you are in the world, take a breath, drink some water, maybe drink some cold beer because it is super hot. I am drinking some cold beer in a champagne glass, by the way. And look up to the stars and let's step into today's astro-weather together. So here we are. We're talking about the astro-weather, the hot sun, everything that is going on. But in this episode, I'm going to be talking about an exploration that I did recently. I've been meaning to talk about this, I would say this little mini adventure that I went on to the supermarket Erewhon. Okay. And I've been like for days, I've been wanting to talk about this episode and just things. There's been a lot of interruptions happening in my life. Of course, a lot of shifts are happening in everybody's life. If you really think about the eclipses that we've been going through, they've been doing a lot of pivoting, a lot of shifting, a lot of not knowing if we're on the right path or not. Okay. Not everybody, but most of us, and this is why we're pivoting and we're doing things differently and we're branding differently and we're marketing differently and so forth. And so a lot of us we're having faith, and faith is what's pulling us in. Also with the fire horse that is going on, that is, we said it, we were going to saddle in the horse and it was just going to drive us through. Okay. The horse was going to gallop us. We were going to saddle up and it was just going to take us in and it would be in paths that we are not familiar with, right? And that is the North Node in Pisces, right? The North Node in Pisces is what's foreign. It is where you're unsure, or you could be sure of it. And so the South Node is in Virgo. And it's our comfort zones. It's where we've been. It's our ancestry. It's been very traditional. Okay. And the South Node is very traditional, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter, okay? We still have to have some sort of tradition in our lives. Ancestors always, always are going to matter in our lives, whether they're dead or alive. And I know I have a lot of dead ancestors around me. Whoa, that was interesting. Okay, what just fell off my vision board, okay, and it just could be because it's not even placed there, but it's just probably frequency. Okay, that deserves a sip of my Bud Light here. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. It is so hot, and there's nothing like a really cold beer. And I have it in a glass and it looks very fancy and everything. But, I am thirsty and I did drink some water, but something told me like, you know what, just it's my dad's beer. So I just grabbed a beer and I just said, I need a cold beer. Anyway, what just fell off my vision board was a G-Wagon little truck, okay? The SUV, the G-Wagon. And it's so interesting because it's as also I put perfume on it and so forth. And to manifest it, and I've been trying to manifest a G-Wagon truck, SUV. We know it's not cheap, okay? I think they cost like more than 100,000. I think it's more than 100,000. It or something like that. Some of them are like 150,000, 200,000. I know it is very expensive. It depends the more newer models, but other ones can go from like 70,000, 80,000 or something. But, I have it there because, that is what I wish to manifest, right? And so I have it hung up in my vision board, and it's just a little truck, it's like a little toy truck. And so I have it hang there and it just fell. Okay. So actually, as a matter of fact, this is the second time it falls. It fell today in the morning, and then it just fell right now as I'm podcasting and talking about, it's so hot and and everything else. So interesting. I'm going to leave it there in the ground, but I'll pick it up once I'm done here. But anyway, that is interesting for me. That's a sign. Well, I was talking about the ancestors, right? And that's when it fell. So maybe what it's telling me is that take it off your vision board because you're about to get a G-Wagon truck, right? And I take it that in Jesus' name. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this adventure that I went on. And I want to share this just as inspiration, okay? Because we should never give up on our goals. And for me personally, I've never entered an Erewhon. Okay, that's Erewhon. Okay, and it's a supermarket here for those that are listening to me around the world that have no idea what an Erewhon market is. It is a luxurious supermarket. Okay, in the United States. As a matter of fact, I think it's only here on the West Coast. No, I think they're in the East Coast as well. I don't know. I think I think in New York. But anyway, but there's certain cities that they don't have Erewhons. Like, I know in Orange County there's no Erewhon, which is so surprising because Orange County there's a lot of people with a lot of wealth, a lot of people with a lot of money. They have been requesting to at least go. I think the Irvine. I don't know. I guess Irvine. There's a lot of Asians and there's a lot of people with money and so forth. I don't know if it's the Irvine Civic Center or something. I don't know what it is over there to tell you the truth. I've never been over there, but I passed through there, through like freeways, like when I would take road trips and just pass through Irvine, but I never actually stopped there. But they're requesting for it to go to Irvine. If anything, if they intend to go to Orange County. But there's only certain areas that they are. It's just like Whole Foods. Whole Foods is not in every city, and you actually have to request it. That's what I heard. That you have to go to the website and you have to request to see if they could make a Whole Foods in your town. I wanted a Whole Foods here in our town, but then after, they created another organic store called Sprouts, right? Which is a little bit similar to Whole Foods. It's just they don't have that many products like that. Like Whole Foods is not as big as Whole Foods, but I love Sprouts. I love the sushi there. I love the organic food. I love a lot of my organic products. I get them from there, and the veggies and the fruits they're pretty affordable there as well. It's just other products that are a little bit more pricier because they're like products that come from other like India or you know Italy, Mexico, and so forth like that. And so they get imported here and they sell them in the grocery stores. So, so I've been well, so that's just Sprouts there, right? And so I think Erewhon is another chain of supermarkets like Whole Foods, right? And if you notice Whole Foods, they're only in locations where it's elevated, okay? They have them in beach areas, in Beverly Hills, some parts of Los Angeles and so forth. And, San Diego, I think, and all that. And so, if they don't have a Whole Foods in your town, most likely it's not really an elevated town, right? And so Erewhon is another chain of supermarkets, something similar to Whole Foods. And it's been marketed, it actually was only in Beverly Hills and Pacific Palisades and parts of LA. I think it's, I don't know, the more bougie areas of Los Angeles. I think more like the Grove in that around that area that they had Erewhon. And that's where it was just, and then it grew to be bigger because this was the type of supermarket that celebrities went to. Okay. You've seen like Kim Kardashian over there. She was actually, promoting a lot of the Erewhon there and her sisters and so forth. And I don't know why I'm hearing Katie Couric. Why am I hearing her name? Weird. See, this is what happens when I start talking about celebrities. This could be that Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Katie Couric is a Capricorn, by the way, so I don't know what's going on in her world, but, you know, we know who she is, right? She's that reporter and everything. But, every time I talk about celebrities, there's Mercury retrograde, okay? It's in Pisces. Pisces has to do with celebrities, and it's about talking about the past. And I was born with Mercury in Pisces, okay, in retrograde to top it off, okay? But the degree matters a lot. So I was born with the 17 degree. And 17 degree has to do with, oh, okay. I don't know, I was looking at my app and I was like, I hope I didn't have other, okay. And so Mercury retrograde in my chart at 17 degrees, it's a degree of Leo. So it has to do with celebrities, it has to do with royals and so forth. And so, and especially when it's retrograde, it has to do with the past. This is why I get a lot of dreams and I get a lot of intuition, a lot of downloads of celebrities that have passed on, like Steve Jobs. And then I have what is Queen Elizabeth. She comes through a lot, especially after she passed on. And then Princess Diana, okay, she appeared in my dream, okay, to tell you the truth, several years ago. And it was so vivid, Princess Diana, when she appeared in my dream, we both have Jupiter in Aquarius. She was a Jupiter in Aquarius. She was a rebel. She was a true rebel. She was beautiful and soft and feminine, but she was like a rebel. If you looked at her documentaries that they did, I don't know how true that was, when it came to her story, but, where she pulled out her pearls necklace. She was so angry, at her husband and mother-in-law and what they put her through, and having her have these rules and eating at the table, and she didn't like the food that they were serving and whatever it was. And then she just got really pissed off because she already knew her husband was having an affair, right? And the mother knew that the husband was having an affair, her son. But, they didn't say nothing. These are rules like in the royals, and she just didn't like it, and she was already mad at her husband, at Charles. And I guess she did a spectacle. She did like a scandal. There was all scandals. When it comes to royals, it's always about scandals. And she just ripped her pearl necklace, like saying it's over, and, she was just very disliked because she was a rebel, she just didn't have standards, and, you know, she just and I relate to her, I can really relate to her because I was like, "Yes," when I seen that movie, when I seen the documentary on Netflix, and it was just like, "Yes," because, it's so sad. I don't know if this happened for reals, okay? But in a documentary where she was sleeping apart from Charles, right? So they gave her her own bedroom, and she had a bookcase, and in that bookcase, there was a book. I don't know why I'm saying all this, but I guess, I'm almost over with talking about this, but I think it's because of the downloads that I get from her. But I remember in the documentary, in her bedroom where she was sleeping by herself, okay, they separated her. She had a bookshelf, and then there was a bunch of books and everything, but then they had a book that said Martyr, okay? The book was named Martyr, okay? And it was right in the middle where she could see it, right? They wanna make sure that it was visible, that she could see it, and it was a sign saying that you're a martyr, And they wanted to label her, and they were projecting onto her that she was a martyr, and, that she would sacrifice a lot for the family, or probably ended up sacrificing later on, or maybe she was gonna, it's a very sad story, but, and this is just allegedly, okay? I'm just going based on the documentary. So don't sue me. But the book, I said martyr, and she just kept looking at the book like, who do they think they are? Do they think I'm stupid? Do they think I'm dumb? And she tried to, take the book out and flip it the other way so she won't see the martyr, But she started looking at patterns of what they were trying to portray into her life, what they were projecting into her life, that she was a martyr, right? And she proved them wrong by becoming a rebel. So that's the way when, When you know your worth and you know who you are, and you can become rebellious towards any rules that they put on you, right? And because too much rules, what it does is stifles creativity. Okay. You cannot become too creative when there's rules, when there's too much rules. You got to balance between having standards and also, this is why I talk about the sandwich. Okay. When it comes to marketing, which is the overlapping. Okay. Overlapping will be more in medical astrology, but it's the same thing. It is about using two, they're just different terms. And so when it comes to marketing, is like having to sandwich, having to use two traits and mesh them together so you can build a better a better result, okay? Versus just being this way, just being about boundaries, right? Because we know eventually you're gonna have to innovate, right? You're gonna have to innovate in a world of innovation. So in a world where it's going really fast and people are doing this and doing that, pivoting here, pivoting there, right? You don't want to get stuck in the mud. You don't want to get stuck in, in the old ways, traditional ways of marketing, right? You want to be, with the latest AI, with the latest glasses, AI glasses. I already got me a pair of AI glasses, okay? And so I might get me another pair, a better brand. But for right now, I'm pretty good with them. And so they take good pictures, they take good videos but there's other glasses that do have more options to do more better things and stuff. And it improves as we go more into technology with Aquarius and Pluto, which is about 19 years. It's going to be a long time. There's going to be a lot of improvement with technology. And so we're just those that are jumping in and getting to know AI and how to be a clone and how to that's a good thing to know. But also you also want to be traditional. You also, because tradition is what's trusted. Having too much innovation, it's not trustworthy, right? Because it's so brand new, you don't know if it's going to work, and a lot of people are not jumping in right away, right? And that's okay. That's why I say you got to balance between being traditional and also being innovative, right? But you don't want to be too traditional. And what was happening with Princess Diana was they were being too traditional on her, but her soul was rebellious. Her soul was like, this is not right. She knew it wasn't right, and that's why she became rebellious, right? And very scandalous and created scandals that actually made me laugh because I think some of the things she did, I probably would have not done. I probably would have not done, honestly, to tell you the truth, because I have a lot of earth, so I can be pretty traditional. But I can be a rebel at times where I'll shock people and people are like, what? you know, she did what? She said what? And people don't expect that, right? So you got to be both. But in my dream, when she popped up in my dream, what she told me was, the message that she told me was to speak up. Okay. She said, Laura, honey, speak up. Okay. If you have something to say, you got to speak up. You got to communicate. And I remember that. And it was just so weird because, what is that? Her best friend, I forgot what the gay guy that plays the piano. I forgot his name. The one that sings something about the rose, lovely like the rose or something. He sang her song. I think Elton John. Elton John. I think that was his name, Elton John. Or that is his name. And he sang her a song when she passed away. And he was in my dream too. you know, he was playing the piano for her. And we were like in the stage, right? And I think she was there. Yeah, I think she already had passed away. But in my dream, she was there and she was like motivating me and empowering me to go on stage, and to go talk about my life, I guess, or things that have happened or things that need to be said, and he was going to play the piano, right? But she was there, so she was the one that she's like, go, and she was really pushing me. She was getting upset because I didn't want to go up there. And she was, like, struggling with me, and I was just like, "I am not ready, like, I just don't know I don't know what to say, like, what am I gonna say?" And she was like, "Anything, just say anything that's in your mind that you just." It was just more about having to talk, and I think there's a healing aspect to that because I do have Chiron, in Aries at 15 degrees of communication, so when I speak, when I communicate, I heal, okay? This is why I'm a podcaster. And this is not just to talk about myself or anything like that. This is about empowering. This is about sharing my ideas and helping other people, to also, have breakthroughs and have ideas. And of course, it needs to be paid as well, And right now, I'm just trying to, pick up with my numbers. And then, you know, it is a monetized podcast here. But I just started. For those that know, I just barely started. I think this is gonna be my 16th episode, and compared to before, I almost had 1,000 episodes at another, location, at another company, and with 33,000 people listening to me, and so, major, major difference, but that company went down. So now I'm starting from 0 again, right? And so as a podcaster, but it's okay, I love what I do, and this heals me for me to talk, and I'm always gonna remember what Princess Diana told me, and she was like, "Speak up." Okay, you have to speak up, and she was very adamant about it too. She was not like too nice about it. It was like a mother speaking to me, but she was very serious about it, and she said, "You have to speak up." Okay, and I think it goes to her lifestyle of how it was that maybe she was not allowed to speak up. She was not allowed to say what's in her mind. She was very much controlled by the royals, and I think it has something to do with that as well, okay? Where, she was telling me for me to speak up because she couldn't speak up as well, And she could relate to me you know, because I was raised also to not speak up, okay? Not to ruffle feathers, and I was raised very much like I was raised in a poor town, but I was raised with, like, ethics and morals, like if I was a royal, okay? And just very, very ethical and very, having to be honest and truthful and not speak up and not ruffle feathers, right? So I was not allowed to say a lot of things when I was younger. Very, very much like prestige, very much like royals and secrecy and mystery and so forth, But that has all changed now, right? Because, we're talking about now, and you got to think about it. Back in those days, there was like Pluto was in Scorpio, and there was a lot of mystery, a lot of darkness, and so forth. And so a lot of secrecy, you know. But I was born with Pluto and Libra, But that's about control of the people, control of, what you can say, what you cannot say, right? Because of society and what is society going to think and so forth, And so that was very important in my mom's family. And well, my dad didn't really care, but my mom, she really cared a lot about what people thought about our family and, the respect and so forth, And I remember my mom used to say this. She said, she once told me this when I was a teenager, and she said, Laura, we might be poor, but we're honorable people. Okay. And if anybody says anything about us, about our family, of being poor or whatever it is that we are, you let them know that we are honorable people. And so I remember that. I was like, wow, I still remember that, And, honorable, I guess, is very military, right? Like very honorable, very trustworthy, and so forth. And so it was very important for my mom, So I was raised very different, even though we were raised in a poor town. But yeah, just very Taurus, very hierophant, very hierarchy. And, she's a Taurus sun, Taurus Mercury. So, yeah. But anyway, let's get off that subject. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about, the dream with, you know, Princess Diana and the need for me to communicate, and that's what I'm doing now. So on this Erewhon, now I'm really thinking, should I do the Erewhon or should I just do the astro-weather? I guess I'm just gonna do the Erewhon, right? So, because there's not really much to talk a lot about the Erewhon adventure that I had, okay? Besides, I was feeling this adventure of having to travel there because I've been wanting to go in there, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, they have like I think they're like $30 smoothies or something, or $20 smoothies or something. But I didn't go to buy the smoothies. I didn't even buy smoothies. I went in there because I just wanted to check out what the hype was about, right? Because first it was just celebrities can go in there, or not just can go in there, but they only have them in celebrity towns, right? But they never have them in our town. I'm like, oh, we're never going to see an Erewhon in our town in San Pedro. So the most, the closest Erewhon here is Manhattan Beach, right? So Manhattan Beach is right near like Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach. Those that are listening to me around the world, it's just a beach area where they they opened a brand new Erewhon, a supermarket, a luxurious supermarket, right? And I hear that the prices are overpriced, right? And I take this nutrient gel that is called sea moss. It's very, very popular with the Asian market, and with the Asian industry, with health and wellness and beauty and so forth. And so I heard so much about, and I was taking it, right? I had to order it. I think no, well, I used to buy it at Sprouts here in our local market. I don't know what happened. They pulled it out of the shelves. So they don't sell it anymore. Now they sell it in pill form or powder form. So they don't sell it in the gel. I think there was a controversy, right? In TikTok, they were doing a controversy about our local market that sells organic food, Sprouts. Something about the gel that they were selling, which was refrigerated, right? Right in the refrigerated aisle, that it was spoiled, or it was like rotten, and it had fungus, or there was something that was going on with it, right? And there were these like black creators that in TikTok that started complaining about the sea moss, because a lot of black people take sea moss, right? And so they were complaining a lot about it, and they were saying, ew, at Sprouts, look at all the fungus and everything. And so I think it was like a big old deal. So they pulled it off the shelves, and they don't sell the refrigerated ones anymore. In my location at Sprouts supermarket, where they have the organic food, there was no problem with those jars. But since Sprouts is I think it's a franchise, but is run by a family in San Diego, they decided to pull all of those, in every store. So if it's like I say, it was like the Folas in Capricorn, where if there's one bad apple, all apples are going to come down, you know, and that's what happens. And we have Folas, this asteroid that has to do with the domino effect in the sign of Capricorn that has to do with business. So if one product falls, all products have to go. Okay. So if there's that one bad apple, all bad apples are going to go, even if you're not bad. You know, the fact of the matter is that you're part of it. You have the same label or whatever it is, and you got to come down too. So that's Fullest in Capricorn. Okay. That has to do with business. And so what happened is that they pulled the jars out of there, so I could not eat no more sea moss. And I was like, it was doing really good to my gut. It was helping me lose weight. My skin was improving. It was looking more softer. My hair was growing. And I took it for about 3 months, and I really liked it, and I also used to share it with my mom, and she liked it too. It has, I think, over 90 nutrients or something like that, minerals, 90 minerals that our body needs, that we don't get it from food, and we don't get it from vitamins. And so, and it tastes tasty. It tastes like Jello. It's not really, it's not really nasty like other people say it is. It just depends. I always buy the mango pineapple, and that one tastes really good. But anyway, they don't sell the jars anymore. Now they have them pill form or powder form, and I don't like those. So I heard that in Erewhon they sell some. They sell some real big old jars. I used to see some videos of Erewhon. I think it was about a year ago, and they had these really big jars, and I think they were like about $45 or something like that. But it was worth it because they were big jars. And I said, "Oh, maybe I can go to Erewhon, the latest one here on Manhattan Beach, the one that they just opened. Maybe I'll find some sea moss there, right?" And then I get to go in there and be like, "Hey, I went into Erewhon, take some selfies," which I did in the bathroom and so forth, and to see what the hype was, right? So when I went into Erewhon, I was like, "Oh my god." Well, maybe at that location in Manhattan Beach is not all hype, okay? It's not all hype because it's Manhattan Beach, okay? It's not Beverly Hills. It is not it is not what West Hollywood, right? It is not, the Grove or anything like that where there's more like celebrities down there. This is more where there's business people, it's very corporate, and so forth. And so I had no idea where this store was, okay? And I got directions of how to get there. And then when I finally get there, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is where it's at?" Because I mean, I know where Manhattan Beach is because I used to go to that beach a long time ago. And I used to go to Hermosa Beach, and it's Hermosa Beach and then Manhattan Beach, right? So it's just like right next door. And so when you're on Hermosa Beach, you're walking, and all of a sudden you're in Manhattan Beach. You don't even know you're in Manhattan Beach. So it's really nearby. So I know where it's at and stuff, and I was thinking it was more on the beach area, like more down there, but it wasn't, right? But it's still Manhattan Beach. It's more on the corporate side. And so when I arrived there, I was like, "It's here?" I kinda laughed. I was like, "I didn't know it was here." And I was like, "Okay." And the reason I say that is because it brought back memories. And when I did this trip, I did it during Mercury retrograde. We're still under Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? So it's about visiting old towns, visiting old places, remembering old places you visit or maybe where you used to hang out or maybe even going to your hometown or whatever it is. I have no intention of going to the hometown, but I wanted to go to maybe familiar places. I would say it would be very kind of south node as well. Virgo has to do with health, right? And so I say, you know what the heck? I am bored. I'm going to go check out the store. And anyway, I finally got directions. I got there and I was like, "Oh my god, it's right here." And I remember that right across the street from there, there's this restaurant called Fleming's. It's a very luxurious corporate type of steakhouse. And right next door was my gym. Okay. I used to go to the gym there. It was called the Spectrum Athletic Complex or something like that. And there was a lot of athletes that used to go there. There was a lot of people with money. And so it was a very bougie gym, okay? And it was not like 24-hour fitness or anything like that. It was the Spectrum, and it was a little bit more pricey than regular gyms. I think I was paying my membership. I actually was paying for me and my sister, to tell you the truth, because I didn't like working out by myself and stuff. I'm like, and plus I wanted to give her the lifestyle, for her to experience the lifestyle of going to a really nice gym and so forth. So yes, I'm a generous sister. So I paid for her membership and I paid for my membership. There was like this, sale going on, I guess, if you get two memberships. But I think I was paying like $70 or $80, something like that a month. But it had everything. It had showers and then they would give you towels and they would give you like sandals, just to walk around. Like you were in the spa. It had the whole spa treatment as well, too. I just felt very bougie, very luxurious and so forth. And it was just so weird because we were like almost the only Latinas there. And the only Latinas that were there were the ladies that worked in the spa room, okay? They were the ones that would hand you the towels and things like that, and clean the gym and so forth. And they were always, putting fresh towels and everything. But me and my sister, were Latinas. We were going in there. And there was a lot of Asian people, a lot of American people, but we didn't care. We were just like, it feels good, you know what I mean? Because you stand out, right? But I did used to talk to the ladies in Spanish, and they were just kind of surprised, like, "Oh, you're coming here," but they were very friendly with us and so forth like that. It's that familiarity. We were not like these Latinas that are stuck up or something like that. And so I really enjoy going to it. So I remember, oh my god, this was where my gym was. I don't think it's called a Spectrum anymore. I don't know what it's called now, but many, many years ago. So I used to drive. Well, me and my sister, we used to drive from Wilmington. That's where we used to live at that time. It's pretty much close to San Pedro. It's like 10 minutes away. And we used to hop on the freeway and then, go to it's kind of like El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, that area. And it took me about 35 minutes to get there, but it was so worth it because once you enter, they had like Zumba classes, they had kickboxing classes, they had everything, Pilates and everything else. But you just felt very luxurious and you were around people of money. People were even there with their dogs. So it was a very good experience. So I remember like, oh my gosh, that's where my gym was. So right across the street, right? So I already kind of seen like, okay, what kind of people are probably gonna be inside Erewhon, and they're probably gonna be corporate people or fitness people or people that, work across the street, and that is what happened. There was a lot of business people there. It was nothing like Beverly Hills of what I thought, but it was an experiment, but it was kinda cool because it was more, like, grounded. You don't see influencers making videos. I think I was the only one doing a video, but you don't see influencers there dancing and making videos or dressing like standing out like influencers, like crazy influencers like over there in Beverly Hills. You don't see any of that. Okay. You don't see none of that. And I still feel that I didn't get the full experience. I would like to maybe later, sometime later, visit the one in Beverly Hills just to get the full on experience of an influencer because I am an influencer as well. And, I don't like to, miss out. Okay. I tend to get FOMO, fear of missing out. So, but it was an experience. I bought me a couple of water bottles, which were very affordable. I bought me some hummus, which was very affordable for $4.99. It wasn't so bad. So there's a lot of prices that are not so bad. Okay. They're very affordable. And the water bottles, they were pretty big. They were $3.99. So that was not bad because I've seen them more expensive at other stores. And it was carbonated water. It was really good, really cold and really good. And what did I say? Oh, I bought me a bag, Erewhon bag, and I love it because it's high quality and I look really bougie in it. And they actually think I'm like a college girl with it for some reason. I don't know. That's another story that I have to talk about. But but anyway, I love my bag because it's very quality and I like how it feels on my shoulder. And you could just tell it's quality, right? I'm like, it's like 100% organic. I think it's cotton or something. I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel so good. I think this is why it costed $50. But I love my bag. I take it everywhere with me when I'm shopping. That's the bag that I use when I go to any supermarket, to put my groceries in there. So anyway, and I've never have spent that much on a bag, but I just say, what the heck? I think it's the whole branding of Erewhon. When people look at your bag, it says Erewhon with big old letters. And so and it was a green, it was like a dark forest green. And I love dark forest green because it's very Taurus, it's very grounded, is also the color of money. But it makes me feel very like nature like and so forth, plants and so forth. So I bought it and I'm very happy with it. So that was it. And, I went in there, I took a couple selfies in the bathroom and, you know, uh, I think that was it. I did ask, well, I did not find the sea moss. They ran out and they had more smaller bottles. They didn't have the big ones that I thought they were going to carry. And they didn't have the flavor ones. So they were just, you know, the regular non-flavored sea moss. And that does not taste good, let me tell you. That does not taste good. You need a flavor one. And I was like, "Oh, no." And it was already like $35. So I was like, "I'm just gonna order on Amazon. I'll order it overnight anyway, because it needs to be refrigerated. There's some that you don't need to be refrigerated. That's what I read on Amazon. And I think that was one of the jars that don't need to be refrigerated. But the good thing is that I have Amazon Prime. So I got it within a few hours, like overnight. I got it, I think 4 in the morning it arrived or something like that. It was not so bad. That's why I love Amazon Prime, because you get it the next day or in a couple of hours, like, it's in your doorstep. And it's worth it. So, I'm not sponsored by them or nothing, I'm just saying I should have got it a long time ago because I've been complaining about the shipping and it taking forever, and I'm like, "I want my product now." No, just kidding. Like a millennial, right? I want instant results, and so I get a little bit impatient. So it was worth getting the Amazon Prime because you get it right away. And so I got my sea moss from Amazon because I couldn't find it at Erewhon. They ran out, so it must be very popular in Erewhon. But I had a good time. I did love the prices, a lot of affordable prices. It's just, it was an experience, but it's not what I expected. It was not the whole Hollywood, LA, Beverly Hills experience, where it's more like corporate, it's more like corporate working out girls kind of, but not so much. It was more like older generation, I would say, that like to eat healthy and so forth. People were not really making big lines for the beaver smoothies. What is that? Haley, the Haley smoothies or whatever, or whatever they're marketing there with the smoothies. I didn't see big lines in that or nothing like that. So yeah, so I just went in and went out and I just said, okay. And I left. Took just a couple selfies and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I experienced what it was to go inside the luxurious market. It didn't make me, I like that it was so organized. I really love that. It was so organized. You could find things. It's very labeled and organized and everything, which I really loved. But it was not the, oh, I feel so luxurious type of. I don't know. I don't know. I expected more. But it's very organized and very clean. Okay, I really love that. And I have my Uranus in Libra in the sixth house of health and the sixth house of food. So Libra is very like, detailed and notices things and aesthetically and so forth. And so although I do love the organization, I do love that it's very grounded and very, bougie. It did seem bougie, very elevated, but I didn't feel like the most luxurious. You know what I mean? I guess I was expecting like more excitement or more. It was just very like older, mature Capricorn type people or business type of people in there. And they didn't have my CMOS, so that was a bummer. But I did buy some hummus. I bought some water bottles. I bought my bag. And that was it. And I was gonna buy a salad, but I thought it was a little bit too expensive. I think it was like $25 for like this really small salad. And I'm like, oh, I could tell I'm not gonna get full on that. You know? You gotta buy more than that, right? You gotta buy like some sushi and some salad and that's gonna be like almost $100. But yeah, but I have good things to say about it. At least I could say, yay. As a matter of fact, I can say, I could say this. And so I don't know if you guys could hear it. I'm testing the podcast. Okay. I'm still learning of how to use it. So hopefully you guys heard the clap. If not, I probably did it wrong. But anyway, I just want to have a little fun on the podcast. So that's my experience with Erewhon. I do have good things to say. Maybe just that location if you're more of a grounded person, more mature person, and you're a health nut, you're right, and you live around the area of Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, or even Torrance, right? You can stop by there and just check it out. It's very organized. And also, I do have to say, it's a much smaller store than other Erewhons, okay? I've seen other Erewhons that are much bigger. Like Whole Foods is totally bigger than that location. And it was just a little bit just more smaller. And so, but you could find a lot of things that are organized. And another thing that I do have to say also is that I didn't see flowers. I didn't see many flowers. I only seen like 3 bouquets on there. So I don't know if they ran out of flowers as well. but I wanted to buy me some peonies. The peonies, they're like Japanese flowers. I think Asian flowers. I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese flowers, but I know they're Asian flowers, and they symbolize prestige and they symbolize fortune and blessings, right? And that's what they use on the Chinese New Year, is that they welcome the Chinese New Year with peonies, and I love, love, love peonies. I used to buy them at farmers markets in Rancho Palos Verdes when I used to go there, and I heard the flower man is no longer there. He moved, I think, to Torrance. He's at another farmer's market in Torrance or something. But I used to love his flowers, and he was, like, so generous. He used to give me, like, another bouquet for free for buying flowers from him, and he had gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. And he used to sell peonies, and I was just like, they were so gorgeous, you know? And ever since then, I was like, "What kind of flowers are they?" He said, "Peonies." I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're so beautiful." And I did buy a bouquet at that time. That was a long time ago. And but I was trying to find those flowers and I couldn't find them. And they only had like 3 bouquets, and the flowers look already like old, you know what I mean? Like, they were not fresh or nothing like that, and they were pricey. So, I was just like, "Oh, no." So, I seen other Erewhon stores that they have a bunch of flowers, and I think that's more like in LA or Beverly Hills or Pacific Palisades or other areas down there where they have a bunch of bouquets of flowers, and that's one thing I did not see at the Manhattan Beach. So that was a bummer there, but besides that, everything, was pretty cool to see, to experience, right? And I'm hoping maybe I'll go into another location that is a little bit more bigger and maybe more influencers and so forth, because I think I was the only influencer there, the only one. Kind of looked weird with taking a video, you know? And people were just looking at me like, "Oh, she must be an influencer." But they didn't tell me anything like, "Don't be filming," or nothing like that, I think it's normal, but they're in their location, I think they're not used to that. But you gotta be a little rebel here and there, you know what I mean? And so that's my experience with Erewhon. I entered the portal of the supermarket, so I had a good time and I just went, "Yes." I accomplished my goal, right, of entering the luxurious Erewhon. There's people you'd be surprised. There are people that drive, even people that live in Texas, people that live in other areas that heard of that market, they come from far just to enter that store. Or they're just people that just wanna check it out to see how expensive it is, or just buy one of those smoothies to see how good it is, and they say that the smoothies are not that good, but the Haley, what is it, skincare smoothie, they say it tastes nasty, so I don't know, I'm glad I didn't spend my money on that because that is they cost about $20-$30 a smoothie, and it's just, because it's luxurious, you know what I mean? It's luxurious, the prices are high, and so there's more worth and more value, but you do feel a little bit worthy. I mean, I did, I didn't feel like total worthy, but I did feel like it was organized, it was clean. There's people that have money that were in there, business people, corporate people. My gym was across the street, and that brought back memories. And so I'm just glad I took the trip down there and just experienced, what Erewhon is. So hopefully, if you are around in Erewhon, you get to experience that. And if you have been, you know what it's like. And if you have not, maybe you should experience it one of these days, just to window shop and just look at the prices, or just buy yourself a water bottle, you know what I mean? Just to enter and see what the hype is, right? So anyway, hope you guys are having a great time here on this hot, hot sun. And as I leave here, if you like the episode, like it, share it, tell your friends, subscribe to it, okay? Because when we stay aligned, we stay aware. And what we do with the awareness is that we let the stars eliminate our path. So with that, I will leave now and I will talk to you guys on the next episode. Bye.